Hi, I'm Coleen Sews and Chats, and I'm going to be finishing up some Halloween projects. Come join me. I don't know what to call this, so I'm calling it Putting Sashing on Log Cabin Style, because I'm going in log cabin style around the blocks I've made. And if you've been with me a while, you see that I always show ironing. If I have to iron, I figure everybody else does. You're not alone. Let's get the ironing done. And there's not a whole lot of ironing here. I'm refolding everything after I iron it because that's what makes my mind happy. I fold salvage to salvage and then in half again, and here I thought I was going to be clever and use my 60mm rotary cutter and go through 12 layers of fabric. That wasn't the greatest choice. Don't chop your fabric like this. This is not the way to cut your fabric. Why did I continue? Well, because I'm a crazy woman, people. And that blade in my 45mm, I finally changed, cutting off the salvages on the strips that I had just cut. And I'm trying to figure out what fabrics I'm going to use. I've got in mind what I want to use, but I'm flying by the seat of my pants. I don't know what I'm going to do sometimes until I do it, which makes my mind crazy because it likes to know what's going on ahead of time. I'm trying the 1.5-inch sashing that I cut, and I'm trying 2.5-inch sashing. And I have an idea in my mind how this is going to go, but things rarely go like I think they're going to. So I want the plainer sashing close to the block I made, and the more decorative outside is what I decided on. Your quilt, your way. And I'm putting the first sides on, and I'm sewing. This is the correcter way to do it. I'm going to make up things as I go along. Bear with me. But I can see where my intersections are on these blocks, so I don't lose the points. Why was I so clever when I started doing the sashing? And later you'll see that I just didn't care. Because I was in a hurry and nobody's going to notice my points, and I'm okay with that. Right there, and I'm keeping an eye on them as it goes under my presser foot to make sure it lines up with the slot in my foot, presser foot. I'm using a 1/4-inch presser foot, which on my Brother machine is very accurate. I've just found out. Yay! Let's be happy about that. I really should have stayed with this method because this is just the smarter way to keep all your points. Unless you completely trust that all your blocks are perfect, and there are some that do, and you know, I say heaven love you. I wish I did. See that? My points are looking pretty good. They're looking pretty safe as I'm pressing it back and I'm chain piecing them onto the sashing. I could have cut each one to size of the block, but I'm not that concerned with that at this point. I am lining up the sashing with my lines on my ruler. The seam line of the sashing that I did is what I'm using to separate them, and I could have put them closer and did one cut, but every time I've tried that, something has went wonky on me. Either I've pulled it or it's scooted sideways and went up sideways. It always goes wonky, so I just leave a little bit of space in between the blocks as I'm sewing them onto the sashing. And did I mention that this is right sides together? See, I've got the first side. Now we're going to go to the second side. Just laid it on top. See, I told you I was going to do it wrong. I had it figure out. Why did I not continue on that? Because I'm a rebel. I'm a rebel, and I'm going to change my mind. and then recommit to that? I really don't know. And why am I laughing? Because I think I'm hilarious. I keep telling my husband I am hilarious. Oh, but anyway, okay. Now we're getting the second sides on. This actually goes pretty fast, and I am not sewing this fast. I've got it in double time. I'm giving this a finger press, and on this small little table, it was a struggle. Actually, on a bigger table, it would have been a struggle because it is chain pieced to a strip, which means they all come with it when you try to cut them apart. Again, I am lining up the seam line with my ruler on the side I just did, and I'm trimming them down. I really hope that my voiceover is better this time. I don't want to yell at y'all. So forgive me if you have to turn your speakers up again. And this is side 3. I have 10 blocks, I think, altogether I've added sashing to. This is just the first few. And once again, I put it underneath normal for me for some reason, and I don't know if everyone does this. The smaller fabric is always on top. So that's what I did. I should have made an exception. I should have kept doing what I was doing in the first place. It's all right. I'm not going to lose sleep over this. Now, if you're going to lose sleep over losing some points and that bothers you, please put them on top. Save yourself the hassle. Or, sew more accurately when you're doing the blocks. I was just making up these sizes as I go and having fun. And for me, that's what counted. I was having fun. I was enjoying what I was doing. And now I'm enjoying moving on to Christmas here pretty soon. Trying to remember the names of all of these blocks. And of course, because I want to remember them, my mind is going to go blank. This is the 4th side. Using my 1/4-inch foot, hanging onto my threads so they don't get sucked into the machine. Because when this machine isn't eating fabric, it's eating threads. Yes, leaders and enders. If you haven't heard it a million times, leaders and enders. I should. I don't. In junior high, I took home ec, and I remember them telling you to hang on to your strings. So when I tried to start sewing, and I could not sew then, I had the basic of how to turn it on. Hang on to your strings. Your strings. Threads. They're threads. I know the difference. And you see my camera traveling? I've decided it's haunted. It keeps traveling on its own. Here I am lining up actually 2 seams, the orange and the purple seam, to square it up. Doesn't always wind up perfect for me, but it's pretty close. And for me, pretty close is pretty good. I'll take it and move on. And now I'm trying to decide how this is going to go on next because I haven't thought that far ahead. Yeah. Clearly, I've got that figured out now. So, all 4 strips of the first round, and now I'm starting the second round of strips. These are 2.5 inches. The idea is all of these blocks are different sizes, so I'm going to build them up and then cut them all down to the same size. I'm not going to tell you how that works yet. Of course, if you've watched my channel, you've probably seen them and you all know. Okay. Stop entertaining yourself, Coleen. There's other people here. I should probably edit that out, but I don't like editing voiceovers, so we're going to leave it and enjoy the crazy. And I'm trying not to pull on this. When I lift it up, I'm looking underneath to make sure the first piece of fabric has cleared the needle, which has passed it, is what I mean by that. Line up my sides. And that's something I noticed about using my not stiletto. Why is that word hard? Seam ripper. It keeps me from grabbing the fabric. And I'm giving a quick finger press. It's easier to do a finger press than grab my iron. I have a bad back. This works for me. You. Sometimes I decide it's worth the trouble of getting my iron and pressing all of those, but I've seen enough people put log cabins and sashing together to know that it's not the end of the world if you don't iron it in between. Don't tell the quilt police I did not invite them. They're welcome to come, but I did invite them. And I'm using my, I think that's my 4.5-inch Missouri Star ruler because the lines are very easy to see for me. Use the ruler that works for your mind and your eyes. I don't know why the other ones don't work so great for me. I have an Omni Grip by Omni Grid that I like, but I like the Missouri Stars better. I'm not an affiliate. This is not a sponsored whatever, blah, 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 YouTube standard disclaimer here. Don't worry, this one's almost over. I don't know if I'm going to put these up in 3 parts, 4 parts, or just do a continual, so we'll all be surprised at what I do. Aren't we usually? Okay, this is the second side of these log cabins, and I have no points to worry about here, so the fact that the smaller strip is on top is just fine. And I don't lose a lot of fabric by not pre-cutting the strips to the size of the blocks I'm putting them on. I mean, for all of these, I maybe lost an inch of fabric in between, maybe, and I think that's being generous with that number. Okay, right there is probably where the inch is. That's a big jump. And I'm lining up the seam on the purple and the seam on the orange I just put on to get that squared cut. And this is my fancy cutting table that sits right in front of my couch because I like sitting with my leg up on the couch underneath me as I cut. Oddities, I know. And now we're doing the third round. Lining the presser foot up, not pulling on my fabrics, just laying that sashing fabric piece on top and letting her go. Trying to line it up. And right there you see me flipping that seam back because I could feel it trying to turn the opposite direction of how I had it finger pressed. Right here it's towards the presser foot and it keeps trying to flip the other way towards me. So I lift my fabric and I just flip it the other way. Usually just lifting the fabric does it. I don't have to get too fiddly with it because that's the way it wants to go. And I run out of sashing strip. I cut them as I go because, you know, a sensible person would cut them all to begin with. No, we're just going to keep doing it as we go because we're crazy. And then I forgot to hit record on the fourth side of these. It's an ongoing problem with me. And that one's a little bit off, but we're going to catch that in the trim later. This may be part one. This may be. See you back in a minute. I'm not sure how I'm going to put these up yet.